It's a bit surreal to be up here. It was in these very pews that I was inspired by the Paulist and envisioned myself up in this pulpit someday proclaiming the good news to everybody. I just had no idea it would be so soon. I was a parishioner here for a few years while working in the city before I moved in the summer of 2012 to pursue this thing called priesthood. And now, a year and a half into my Paulist training, I've been invited to come back for this feast, the conversion of St. Paul, the patron saint for this parish and for the Paulist Fathers. Growing up as a cradle Catholic, there were always a couple of icky religious words that I always kept my distance from: evangelization and conversion. Now, as a Paulist seminarian, they're part of my everyday conversations. So what changed? Why have I gotten so comfortable with them? Well, as a kid, I always associated those words with a kind of brainwashing, or as Pope Francis might say, proselytizing. Now my understanding is completely different. Let me focus on conversion, since that's the feast that we celebrate today. We hear the word all the time in a wide range of contexts. We could convert dollars into euros when we're making an overseas trip, or you can hope your football team makes a third down conversion, which I hope my Patriots do a lot of next weekend. And of course, we hear it a lot in a religious context as well. So-and-so became a Catholic, he converted. Or so-and-so converted to become a Southern Baptist. She converted to Judaism, he converted to Islam. And these uses of the word are all correct, of course, but I think it's very surface level. A true conversion, in the sense that our faith compels us to talk about, is a conversion of the heart. This is what Saul experienced, and what we're called to as Christians. And it has a much deeper meaning than a mere label change. Let's take a closer look at Paul's conversion experience. It begins when he hears a voice saying, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" Persecution is always the ground zero for conversion. And a true conversion is always a turn away from persecution. And this is why Paul's story is the ultimate conversion story. He goes from breathing murderous threats to the disciples of the Lord to later writing about faith, hope, and love. There is no room for persecution in faith, hope, and love. We are all in need of conversion because we are all guilty of persecution. Persecuting God, persecuting others, and persecuting ourselves. We may not be breathing murderous threats like Paul, but we may call somebody a name behind their back, or dismiss the needy person asking for change on the street, or even race into the subway car to grab that last seat before somebody else does. These may all be small things, but they're all forms of persecution, and maybe the seeds for the larger persecutions that we see in the world today. And many times we are guilty of a persecution against our very selves. We allow ourselves to fall away from our convictions and to doubt what we are truly capable of. The temptation is always there for all these things. And that's why the conversion that we speak of is not a one-time thing, but it's ongoing. It's about becoming the fullness of ourselves, who we are created to be by God. Mine was not so dramatic as Paul's, but I had my own conversion experience right here in this church. Although not given specific directions like Paul, I felt guided, certainly with obstacles and speed bumps along the way, but guided. There are many moments that I could point to where I really felt the presence of God, like planning retreats for the young adult ministry here, or helping out at the homeless banquets downstairs, or coordinating events with the gay and lesbian group here. But a distinct one sticks in my head today. I remember walking into Mass, and for some reason I was really late. Forgive me. So when I walked in, Father Gill was already beginning his homily. I can't remember what the homily was about, but I remember pausing for a moment, looking up and thinking, that's what I want to do. That's how I want to give myself to God. Isaac Hecker, founder of the Paulist and the builder of this very church, went through his own conversion experience. Born into a Methodist family on the Lower East Side, he sought to change the world. After trying a hand at politics, it didn't seem to be enough for him, so he started to scratch his spiritual longings, looking to all kinds of denominations, including Mormonism and Transcendentalism and others, before being called to the Catholic Church. He even wrote about being visited by an angel, his own dramatic conversion experience. And later, he would form the Paulist community with a vision to integrate the Catholic faith with our American culture. I feel pretty silly even mentioning myself alongside St. Paul and Father Hecker. But I think that's actually the point. Every one of us is called to conversion. We just need to listen for that call and stay true to that call. Because it's through our conversion that we stop our persecution. Now, my conversion occurred in the midst of the Paulists, and of course now I'm in the seminary with the Paulists. And I've been asked many questions about the seminary life. A whole wide range of things, like, can you drink alcohol anymore? Or, are priests allowed to adopt children? But most often I'm asked, what attracted you to the Paulists? Sometimes I'll give the canned responses, I really like their mission, or I wanted to live in a community setting. And those are true. But above all, I was attracted to this life because I came to meet the Paulists themselves. I got to know Father Gill and Father Tom and Father Dave and Father Mark David and Father Steve. And I could shower them all with many compliments, describing how they are dedicated, faithful, and caring, because they are. But if I had to sum them all up in one way with one word or phrase, it would be down to earth. Every one of them is in touch with reality. They know what's going on in the lives of everyday people. They know the joys and the struggles, and they actually feel the joys and the struggles right along with them. It's an interesting phrase, down to earth. Whenever we talk about somebody who's down to earth, he's down to earth or she's down to earth, it's always a compliment. We mean that person as if they were physically close to the ground, knows what's happening all around them. They are humble and not arrogant. They are optimistic, but realistic. In some ways, we all wish we could be more down to earth, because I think that's what we were called to. Just as God came down to earth in the person of Jesus, we are also called to come down to earth. And that's exactly what the Paulists do. This is what compels them to do the work that you see in this parish: feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and building a community of love across all ages, ethnicities, and orientations. But the Paulists do more than what you see in this parish. And this gets back to why I wanted to join the Paulist community in the first place. Because it was going to have to take a lot to force me out of this parish. They serve a parish and campus ministries all across the country. And they have a mission that is a three-pronged approach: evangelization, reconciliation, and interfaith dialogue. Put in other words, they reach out, they bring peace, and they seek unity. In a world that is rife with division across races, cultures, religions, and political parties, I can't think of a mission that is more important than one that reaches out, brings peace, and seeks unity. The world today has too much of an eye for an eye mentality and not enough of a turn the other cheek mentality. And I think that's what the Paulists bring. They bring to the world a bridge to walk across. Now, as you know, I am here for the Paulist Appeal, an annual fundraiser to help the Paulist mission continue to thrive. So I ask you now if you'll consider supporting the cause. There are 4 ways that you can help us. First and foremost, answer the call to conversion and become your own missionary. We are all called to be disciples in our everyday lives. Next, you can pray. Pray for the church, pray for the healing of the world, and pray for the Paulists and their mission. Thirdly, find your own vocation, whatever it is. Be daring enough to follow your passions, because that's where the world needs you. And if you're a single young man, consider the priesthood. It's been an exciting and rewarding ride for me so far. And finally, you can help us with your donations. Your donations will go towards educating seminarians like me who have been given the Great Commission that we heard about in the gospel today. It will go towards taking care of our older priests who have competed well. They have finished the race, and they have kept the faith. And towards the many active priests that work for the church and reach out to others in special missions. So there will be a second collection today for the Paulist mission. And there are envelopes in the pews, green ones like these, that'll give you a little more detail. If you aren't able to give today, I encourage you to take it home with you and pray on it. Because I think in today's day and age, the Paulist mission is needed more than ever. Your prayers and donations mean so much to me, to the Paulists here, and to the whole Paulist community. And let us all stay on alert for the call to conversion and to be more down to earth. Thank you, and God bless.